There we go.
And let me share the screen.
And yeah, I'd like to thank everybody for joining in tonight. Sorry about last week or 2 weeks ago when my internet was sketchy at best. So it is 6:30. The recording started. We'll call it to order. And Sue, if you would please call the roll.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I just lost my, why did I just lose, David, my screen with the, let's see, with the roll, exit full screen. Here we go. Now I have it, I think. Very good. Okay, roll call, Jim Quish.
Here.
Mr. Mortimer is here, I saw. Present. Mr. Cater.
Present.
Mr. Castagnoli.
Here.
And Mr. Sulkus is here, along with Joe Griffith and myself.
Awesome. Well, again, thank everybody for coming. It's been a while. So update quickly is that we have an okay from the city attorney to sign the contract with the consultant finally. So that'll happen in short order. We will kind of try to be a little bit, cautious about how we spend the money and not always invite them to every meeting and not have them, do stuff unless we've thought it through and then direct them to do it and then have them come back to us with something that they, some deliverable kind of thing, something that we requested. And if they're not sitting here for a whole meeting, if we're talking about stuff that we want to direct them to do later. So we'll just try to be, cost conscious on how we spend the money. It's pretty much, and correct me if I'm wrong, David or Joe, it's pretty much not really like a lump sum. It's more like a not to exceed based on the actual time we use them.
Yeah, it's a time and material contract that's not to exceed 45,000. So
Okay.
I'll be signing that tomorrow morning and emailing it off to the to FHI.
Great. Well, that's good news. And we have time to get everything done that we want. And, I think it's almost good that it's not way too much time because then you tend to get off track, lollygag a little bit. We can stay a little bit focused and try to make headway on each meeting and keep each other accountable for what our next steps are. If we plan on doing something for the next meeting, let's make it clear and concise so that we all follow through and do our own homework. Excuse me one second. Coming on. But anyway, so David, if you would walk us through the agenda.
So basically, what the board had been doing and is going through the plan as it exists, chapter by chapter. So we have, I believe these are the last three chapters that we have to look at, which are the infrastructure, sustainability, and transportation. In an order of the book, they are infrastructure, transportation. Okay, good. I said them in order. So. I'm hoping that everyone took the opportunity to read them, and if there's any thoughts that they want to share on it. Obviously, the graphics will be updated by our MIS people to from before and after, so that's just sort of where we should probably start. I mean,
Okay, good, thank you. So public infrastructure, do you want to get the, thank you. The short stem it is of my mind.
oh, geez. Sorry.
So if you just scroll down a little bit so we can see the whole graphic there. So this is the 212.
Sorry.
Dave, there's a little button on the side of that thing that'll,
I keep hitting it and they keep calling back. I'm very popular tonight.
People looking to get on. So yeah, this is, this is just a quick look at the financial analysis of how we're spending way too much money on general government and not enough on health and welfare. But that's outside of our purview.
Well, actually, the biggest amount there is education. I think that's this.
Right, yeah, this graphic shows
Yeah.
all general government.
Yeah. This is education. And I believe this is the general government part here. So and then this is all the other stuff. So yeah, usually, for educational facilities, obviously we would talk to, the Board of Education. There, as we know, their numbers have been declining. And that could have an impact on their infrastructure. And these
where do you get that data from, Dave? I mean, is that
that's from what I've been hearing for the last several years from the Board of Education. It's been like in the news and their meetings and.
Yeah, so is that something we want to actually get their most recent table of analysis of the, and I think you're exactly right that the enrollment is down and the demographics of school-age children is going down and has been going down. Is that a graphic that we want included in this document to sort of give us a look at? Yeah, Joe, just speak up anytime you want.
Yeah, Jim, we should get that, okay? When I was on the Board of Finance, we asked for that because the enrollment kept going down for several years, but the expenditures were continuing to rise, okay? So we should ask for that.
Okay, I think you're right. I agree with you. And again, it's again, the document itself when it comes out is information and hopefully direction. But it's also good if you get someone looking at it, they don't have to go and find the Board of Ed website to get this data. So it's probably smart to have it. I agree with you, Joe, that we should have it, and whatever projections they have, and
they'll always be cyclical, because Milford has been through this before, and they would shed schools that they built, and you might know some of them around town is condominiums down on Naugatuck Avenue and a few other locations. And then when the demographics change and, if you have a new influx of families or the families that are here get younger, the enrollment then goes up again. And then they look to.
Well,
I think that model, my guess is not gonna repeat in the same manner that it maybe has. We have, an aging population. We have a real estate market that is not that necessarily appealing to young families. It's pretty expensive for. Yeah, and I think it's a trend going along the state and the country that there are and will be fewer and fewer students in the public school system.
That's why we
but
need.
Dave, I'm assuming that, very literally line by line of this first paragraph, I mean, there's a resource somewhere at the, whether it's Bradbury or
Yeah.
Richitelli or somebody, but they could line by line update this for you
Absolutely.
immediately. Yeah,
Absolutely,
so I think that would be step
absolutely.
one.
Because I'm sure that's where we got it.
So we ought to get it again, but I think more importantly, I think we ought to be talking about the projections, because I think
and keep in mind all of that planning and everything that the school does. We really don't have. We can mention things and it's there for information, but we don't really through our plan have really a big impact on what the Board of Ed wants to do or not do.
True.
Well, wait a minute,
I
wait a
think
minute,
it
guys.
probably informs, it informs adaptive reuse if
Sure.
more schools close, stuff like that. Joe, just
Sure.
speak up anytime you want, Joe.
Well, we do have a big impact because I don't know how Lexington Green got built and then Mathewson had to put on a major addition. Okay, that was a major development that occurred.
Yeah, PDD, yep.
Yeah,
yeah.
so, I mean, if we were to allow a lot of apartments to go up, whatever, that's going to increase the school population.
Right, and if we had, and I was gonna say before, you know, if we had more affordable housing, you know, and I'm just saying affordable in the general sense of more affordable, we would be able to attract, you know, like, you know, the younger families and you know, you would hope that we'd be able to hold steady the school population enrollment, if not increase it. Because, you know, as a city, and we're seeing this in other cities, you know, if the older the population gets and the, you know, and if there aren't any young people coming in, you know, it ends up being a problem. I mean, Brett, I think.
Can I bring up a point too? There, something you're not thinking of is just last year, the New York Times had an article that Milford was the #1 place young people were moving to or were interested in. So those people moving there are probably young people who are in the workforce. They might be settling down and then having families in 5 years from now. So I think, like David brought up a point earlier, it goes in cycles. So be very careful that, you know, the population may seem like it's aging, but a lot of young people are moving to Milford, and very well may have a, you know, population explosion with young kids in 5 years. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah. I mean, I would think that would be a good thing. I wouldn't think of it as an explosion, but there could be a reversal of the downward trend anyway. Minimize the downward trend, or even change it to a, you know, leveling off, or even maybe increase. You know, we have the, I don't know if the Board of Ed would agree with me, but I did sit on the Board of Ed for a while and look at some of these in depth. And, you know, we have infrastructure for probably 1,000 more kids if you look at the square footage we have in schools. So, you know, whether we have the teachers to keep the classrooms at 22, may be a different story, but we have physical infrastructure to handle a lot of students, that's for sure.
But Dave, I mean,
yeah, those
so
are good points, though. It's always good to prepare for, you know, like building roads. It would be nice if we built 95 and 91 to have 5 lanes instead of 3. It wouldn't be so crowded now. So plan ahead is right. I agree. So again, so we'll cut and paste some language from Milford Public Schools into the front end that shows current info.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would think at our next meeting, Dave, we should have drafted the amended section here. Not just the updated language that talks about, if you scroll up a little bit, please. Not just the updated language about what was happening, no, stop, between 2011 and now. Update that language, but clearly get, you know, what whoever it is, your source, Ray Bradbury, Jim Riccitelli, whoever it is, but get some input as to, you know, what they see.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it would be
because
great if they just wrote us the narrative that they want, that they feel is important to share with. It's just another way to get out there, you know, whatever, data #1 and message #2.
And
Yeah.
I'm sure they have it, because they have to think ahead, obviously.
Yeah. Okay. As we scroll down, what are we seeing? We're seeing.
So this, you know, I'll have MIS update this graphic. It may or may not have changed. I don't know of any schools that have on this list that have closed or changed. I don't know if anything has been added in terms of on the private side of things. But we'll find out.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Oh, St. Gabriel's, are they still around, or did they close? They closed, so that'll be,
They closed.
yeah. That's right. That's, I think, the Future Boys and Girls Club, the way it's going. I think they're going to be acquiring that. And then, yeah, and then this is verbiage, just, discussing all the rest of the schools. We've got our government buildings. This may or may not have changed much. I mean, I think it's just identifying various government buildings that we have.
Yeah, so that needs to be updated, right? I don't know that we still have the Army facility. I think it has
Yeah.
been decommissioned. So
Right.
that needs to be updated. Who does that? We do that in-house or?
Yeah, I mean, I can update, that's just language, yeah. Yeah, because the city was, I know they had talked about the acquiring the maintenance facility, and they were gonna originally move the health department there, and obviously the health department is still where the health department is. So I don't know if we own it now and we're just using it for something else for storage.
I think,
or-
I think we do own it and the
Yeah.
fire guys are using it for training. I think it should be for the bus company and have a solar array over the whole thing to charge the fully electric school buses. But that's just my idea.
Sounds good to me. Okay, so obviously that gets updated. Public safety buildings, again, another map showing us, where all of our facilities are.
And
Yes,
that
ma'am.
fire station is now completed over on New Haven Ave.
Yeah, so that'll be updated. And yeah, the harbor master's still there. The post office is still there.
The potential police training facility, is that completed now or over in the bottom left-hand corner there? But it looks like Walnut Beach.
That
area.
that is in one of the schools. If we go back to, was it West Shore? There was one of the old schools. Oh, was it West Shore Middle? What?
No, it was,
No.
well,
It was one of the, there's a school there that I guess isn't being used. It's been sort of mothballed, and that's where they were using that facility.
Simon Lake.
yeah, it's Simon Lake.
There it is.
So
I
yeah,
don't know, and-
the police are using that for a training facility
Yeah.
and a
Yeah.
gym, I hear.
Okay, so that's no longer a future. We actually are doing that. then.
Yeah. They obviously want to replace it if they can get their new police station, the future site of we could perhaps add that to this on Route 1, because the city did acquire that site next to Big Buy as the home of the future police station, if whatever that gets built.
If that's in fact what's happening.
Right,
You again, you'd need a source to confirm whether or not that's on the books.
right. Well, there was a committee. There was a new police station committee. I don't
Yes,
know
I was actually the
still active.
liaison from planning and zoning at one point.
Yeah. So, because I know they were talking about if they had built that, then they would abandon the facility down here because it would be incorporated. But yeah, so we'll have to find out what the status of that is. Public safety. See, here's the future health department over on Siemens Lane at your bus depot.
Oh, gotcha. Yep.
Yeah. So obviously that'll have to be updated. And obviously this has been constructed now, so yeah, so a few quick updates. Arts, buildings and cultural activity.
Dave, again, please, as you're getting these updates, whether it's schools or private schools, let's get them on a GIS layer, please.
All I can do is say to John, can you update this? And then however, if he's able to
Again,
give us,
we would like to be able to turn layers on and off, so let's please get it in that format.
I will ask him. That's the best I can do.
Okay.
That's the best
I
I can do.
remember Eugene Lipschitz said that he had staff and capacity to do a lot of mapping when I was a liaison to the SCROD. So if John can't do it, maybe, for whatever time constraints or tech constraints, maybe maybe Eugene has all this data that he can help us with. He totally offered, because I
Yeah,
know there were other people updating their POCDs when I was on the committee, and he totally offered and gave them help. So I don't know if we
Okay.
really need it, or they just need the willpower and the, and have
Well,
people just actually do it. But
there's the creation of maps, which is easy to get from MIS because they have this information because they put this together for us for the last one. What Joe's talking about is having layers, so you could have a layer to turn on, your animal shelter, take that on and off, your police facilities, turn that on and off, things like that. And
Or specifically, we could have a layer that's showing 2012 and then turn on a layer that's 2023.
so if
right,
so-
which is basically the two different maps as they are, and being able to superimpose them.
yeah, it's almost like just a clear map over another
Right,
map.
right.
If you were doing it physically. So if you don't get a response, what do? We ask.
Well, I think that's the point is it's really a question of our office, our department working with other departments. And I think at some point, if we need better cooperation, we can tap other resources such as the mayor's office. So again, it's
Good enough. So this,
doable.
the arts building, this map doesn't show the art building on Naugatuck Ave.
Let's scroll down because maybe it does, because this is focusing on the Milford Center.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I believe here's Walnut Beach.
Yeah, there's the Firehouse Gallery.
Got the
Okay.
Firehouse Gallery. Looking at potential live work units, which never materialized here. Yeah, the private art gallery and studio, which may or may not.
Yeah,
be
this is a pretty lame image.
Yeah,
but-
it made at the time it made the constituency down there happy because they were, it was the Walnut Beach Revitalization Committee was active then. They've since disbanded. So it made them, they were very gung ho about public art and.
No, I'm glad it's, I'm glad it's here. I just think that the actually image is, it would be nice to have a better, better
Something not.
visuals. We have a decade later, we have a lot more tools to, to do Google Earth with some some relief and some perspective. And so that would be one thing I would ask in general of the consultant to get us image related technology that is state of the art, not this.
Right. Well, we have
The more compelling it looks, the
Right.
more convincing it can be, I think.
now you're not just saying that because of the proximity of the water is making every property here a little on the mossy side, are you?
Well, I mean, I like the concept of a green roof. It just doesn't need to be painted green.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I just think there's so much, there's the technology has changed so much that there's really a compelling way to show
Sure.
all these things.
Yeah, and
it should be simple for them.
right, and what I want to do is if there's anything here that we have to update in-house in terms of information, get that information and then give it to them, and that's part of the magic. Or
Who is them, Dave?
them is the consultant, because they're
Well,
going to
again, it wants to go. We're going to compile the information. We're going to get it to MIS to get it onto layers and then get it to the consultant. Yes.
the other facility that the city was very involved with that seems to have fallen by the wayside was the Stowe Arts Farm. There was that big plan to turn this into a big community arts facility, which I think is withered on the vine.
Yeah, that's true. And so, but anyway, I think actually, if you go back up quickly,
Yep.
the person who's the entity that tried to get something happening up at the Stowe, I think it has this private gallery on Naugatuck Ave. I think that's the same folks. I'm not 100% sure. I just thought that. So that's a nice addition. And the Stowe Farm debacle came and went.
Yeah. So obviously this is verbiage about the Stowe Farm and the Arts District that we're going in, wanting to do down there. And then we have public safety facilities, again, just descriptions of our public safety facilities. This we'll have to look at and see, how it can be updated.
Yeah, note to self, this font is very unappealing.
Well, we're going to be getting a new document that is going to look much better.
Yeah, I know.
That's the one thing the consultant said they could do.
Yeah, that's probably fairly easy.
Yeah, exactly. So we have the sewer infrastructure and capacity. I can check with the sewer commission, whatever information we need to update this, we can get from them. The pump stations we have are the same number. I don't think they've repaired all the pump stations. I don't think they've added any.
Update this.
Yeah, the capital improvement plan, we can update, the city has a capital improvement plan. So we can, pull information out of there to update this table.
Hey, Dave,
Yes,
could you scroll back up to sewer, please? There you go. I'm assuming the numbers have changed since 2011, and I guess
which numbers are you talking about?
well, where we are in terms of overall capacity. I mean, assuming that the point of this whole plan of conservation and development is to show what direction the city wants to be going in terms of development and what have you, be it commercial development, residential development, what have you. And I'm assuming that it's very much tied into the capacity of the city sewer system to handle all this. And I would think that some sort of overview ought to take place in which we're summarizing that here's where we are. There's an upper limit as to how much literally crap you can pump into this thing. And we're at the 90th percentile, we're at the 60th percent, wherever we are. And I guess that would be kind of I would think the point of this plan of conservation and development. Or this
Since we're
aspect of
adding
it.
population, I'm pretty sure that would be kind of a critical piece of information.
Sure, and that's why we have the sewer commission, and I can see what their latest numbers are. I mean, this is information that has to get updated. As far as I know, we have not extended the sewer system to unsewered areas. I mean, again, we're going to hover at the 90% of the town being covered by sewers, but that last 10% is the toughest 10%. So, and that hasn't changed.
But within that 90%, we're pumping more.
Oh, sure,
effluent in
absolutely,
there.
totally,
Yes.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. So we'll have to get that information from the sewer commission. Because that would be part of their planning. And I know they had been making upgrades and things, and I believe it wasn't that the Housatonic plant, because it's in a low-lying area, so they were making some improvements to that to make it more
Flood-proof.
Flood-proof, yeah.
So that's but again, to just make sure we hear Joe's point, is that this data in front of us talks about coverage, and that's probably square miles, square footage, or individual house. Oh, there's housing units. But if we look at potential capacity and how near we are, that would be a great question to ask of the sewer commission, which then they may ask to who's ever in charge of wastewater, and to give us an understanding of, can we handle 2,000 more residential units, or would that stress us out to the point of being not functional? So that's a data point that I don't know that we have, but I think that, to Joe's point, that it might be valuable to get.
Or I guess what I was just thinking specifically is even like at the mall, right? The direction the mall seems to be going is you've got these retail spaces which are obsolete, and more and more you're seeing more restaurant use going into these things. Now, restaurant use is whatever, I don't know what the factor is, quadrupling the sewage output of that facility. And so I guess that's what again, my point being is I assume there's a tipping point there at some point. you're gonna break your sewage system or have to upgrade it. And it would just be, I think, good to know where we're at in terms of
Yeah,
a
that's,
tipping point.
yep, I agree with that. And, you know, and it shouldn't be a surprise to any of the utilities, because as part of their planning, they know what our zoning is, and they should be looking at our zoning as, wow, this should be maxed out, you know, whatever the zoning is for a particular area, for their planning purposes. If it's a commercial area, they should be looking at it and going, you know, gee, potentially you could have that
So-
whole zone filled with restaurants, and what
So
would,
do we have when we have either a public meeting or public hearing relative to infrastructure, do we make sure that somebody from wastewater is there, maybe somebody from the sewer commission is there and prep them to come with information for us?
yeah, I mean, we can do that. I mean, I'm gonna touch base with them to get the information anyway, and yeah, I don't know if someone from wastewater or someone from the commission would, you know, or maybe.
I think somebody from wastewater would have more information from the
Yeah.
commission.
Yeah,
Yeah, just like we were talking about with the Board of Ed, having some source there, you know,
Yes.
to provide you with this data. You want to have a source, a point of contact with the sewer
Sure.
And we
office.
can
and-
invite people in without making it a true public hearing,
Sure.
right?
Yep.
So why don't we do that? I mean, I'll ask the members if they think it's valuable to do it, or just have staff dig up the info.
How about we do both?
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I think we need both. Sure.
okay. We have what's called the superintendent of wastewater. So I'm going to guess that the superintendent of wastewater will be our prime source for this.
Yeah, and he can get the invite, and he can send
Yeah.
whoever.
Yeah.
If he doesn't want to come himself, then he can send his number too, or whatever. You caught that quickly, didn't you, David?
That was very good, very good. Very impressed.
We are all such adolescents.
Moving on.
Moving on.
Gotta move it. Okay, so,
Okay.
yeah, and you know, again, better graphics on the maps of where,
Totally.
you know,
Yeah.
proposed and not budgeted. I mean, again, your point is that the reason they're not done is because they're the hardest and they're the
Right.
more miles of sewer for fewer.
Actually, there's a physical reason. So, and actually we can use this map. The sewer line, the main sewer line that would be coming and feeding the north down to this facility actually travels up Wheeler's Farms Road, which of course on this map, I can't tell. I think, would this be Wheeler's Farms? I think this is Wheeler's Farms. And once it
No,
gets,
Wheeler's Farms is north of it's north of 95, south of 15.
right, so is it coming across here? I think it's coming across here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's going on is it's all shallow bedrock. It's solid rock where Wheeler's Farms meets the Parkway. And the only place they could really sort of run it is through the former, we would call it the Avalon site, if you're familiar with that. That was going to be a big apartment complex.
Yeah, this is near this is where the 15 meets
Right,
Wheeler's Farms Road,
right.
the old Hojo's site.
Right, so next to, if we go back to the, actually, if I go back to this map, because I can go to the school. Let's see if we listed it, Boys and Girls Center for Child, okay, here it is, right here. This is where they have to run the line to get up here. And the only way they can do it, apparently, is through the Avalon site. And the cost of just getting it through there is in the tens of millions of dollars. So there was a lawsuit. We were in a lawsuit to prevent that site from being developed because it was going to be an 830G. And we were successful. we failed in preventing the 830G from going there, and it's still not there. That's what that Avalon site was. But the city said, oh, for you to go there, for sewer capacity issues, you have to put in the main sewer line going through the property that we can hook into to serve the northern part of the city. And the court actually agreed with us. So anybody who develops that site has to put in that sewer line.
Do they have to blast?
They would have to blast, and they would have to blast deep, because it has to be gravity fed.
Why can't you put another pump station?
I'm not the engineer. I don't know.
No. Okay.
But
No,
whatever
thank
it
you.
is,
That's good info, though. Thank you.
yeah, and that's the bottleneck to serve off the map to serve that part of Milford. That's the
Hey, Jim?
10%.
Jim?
Yeah.
Yeah, about a little over a week ago, this has not a little bit, it's in that area. What did we approve next to Southwind, right over there, right across from Boys and Girls Village? We
That's
approved,
you're talking about next to Southwind. That is phase 2 of Southwick. You're talking about Southwick.
okay, and what did we approve there?
We approved back in, I think it was 2005, not assisted living, but a 55 and over community in a different form factor than the townhouses that are there.
Okay, and what did we looked at this a little over a year ago, I think. What did we,
We looked at it because they came in to tweak the regulations so they could move a line on the site, so they could and I want to say it had to do with when that project was originally conceived. It was going to be under the same ownership, and they were going to share the driveway, they were going to share drainage, a whole bunch of site things were going to be shared. But since it was originally approved back in 2005, and there were multiple lawsuits between the association and the developer who had the rights to it, they needed to be able to separate out certain infrastructure, and they couldn't do it without the tweak in our zoning to adjust the site,
Because it's R1, and R1 allows for some assisted living or related, doesn't have to be assisted living, but some senior housing, but it
Right.
had to be on a minimum of 5 acres. And we reduced that so that they could functionally still exist.
Right. Yes, that's.
Is that correct?
Yes, now that you say it, that's the other part, yeah.
so,
Because you needed like a minimum of 9 acres or 10 acres, and with this being split off in a separate entity, you have like 7 acres and 3 acres, something like that.
Yeah, I think it's 5, but
Yeah, okay, or 5, yeah.
so townhouses are going in there,
No, townhouses are not going in there.
single family homes.
No single family homes, a large apartment building looking kind of thing.
Is going to go in there.
Yes,
Okay, over 55.
yes,
Okay. Do you know how many apartments they're putting in there?
not off the top of my head.
Okay.
what do
How
you
many
think the
sto-
order of magnitude is, David? Under 100?
I think it was under 100, but it might have been close to 100. It could have been 70, could have been 90.
Yeah, and that's on that 4.5 acres or whatever it was.
Right.
Okay. And how many stories are they going up?
I want to say it might be 3 stories.
Okay. All right.
And that'll come before us as a special exception.
No, it's already approved.
Okay, so we're not seeing a
You're not
site
gonna-
plan or anything?
No, it was already approved. In 2004 or 5, it was approved.
Well, there'd still be an amendment, right?
No, they're building it as approved.
No, well, so long as they still can do that.
Yeah, they can.
Okay.
No time limit on the,
It was in court for years because the association was fighting with the developer. And there were things involving the title of the property. It made some of our land use attorneys pretty rich.
And at the end of the day, we had a public hearing and no one came out and spoke against it.
Oh, the latest one, yeah, no one spoke out. Yeah, no one spoke out against the latest tweak.
They didn't- No one spoke for it, but no one spoke against it either.
Right, right. And the original project, I think, had actually had support, back way back when. The original concept was to have assisted living, and then they were looking at, should they have part of the facility provide other services, so you can age in place. So you could, for instance, start in the townhouse on your own, and then you'd move over perhaps to this facility, which would have, smaller spaces, and then have some other support services.
Yeah, yeah.
So is it still an over 55 development?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
yeah, because that's what it originally was approved as.
Okay.
And that's the only way something like that could be built then, because it wasn't 830G, but our regulations allow 55 and over.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, let's scroll.
Okay. Okay, I scrolled backwards, and so, okay. So sewer service, we'll find out about that. Oh, these are all the pump stations, these lovely green dots. And these are our two.
I'll tell you what, I would have lost that bet. I never thought there were 40.
Yeah. Yeah, we're fighting gravity and Mother Nature in Milford.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yep. So again, all this language will have to be, looked at and updated.
I mean, one thing, I don't know that it really does much bearing, but that's a huge number in terms of kilowatt hours. Pumps in 40 pump stations at whatever size pipes there are. They, again, I don't know, we can't drive what they do, but it sure would be good that each one of these had some solar, or that we had, centrally some, I know there is technology for capturing the methane out of, the actual treatment plants and converting that into energy. And we have spent some money and had some, smart decisions made on the upgrades that we've had done, but.
Yeah. Oh, just as a point of interest, 60% of the city's waste actually goes up to this plant here through a single line that goes down West Avenue. Just to let you know, it's one of those interesting things, because I know when years ago the sewer commission, or the city, the city came before the planning and zoning board to update the board at the time on the sewer projects, and I think they needed cams. That's why they came before us, and one of the issues was having to redo the line that goes to that treatment facility, because I believe, and I'm not doing this from memory, but chemistry wise, there was something going on the long run of that line with methane that was building up in the line and was actually eating away the line going to from the pump station on West Avenue to the Housatonic facility.
So because it's a railroad track, it can only cross one place.
Yeah. So it was that was the last, in the last 10 years, that was like the largest project I think they did. That was the line had degraded because of that. It's processing, water supply and storm management, regional water authority.
Stormwater management's changed significantly, right?
Yeah.
So who's your source for that data?
That data, would I be talking to the city engineer?
Okay, start with that then.
Yeah. Yeah. You're talking about the M4 standards, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
And we have grant money for infrastructure that includes stormwater. Is that not accurate?
That I don't know.
I mean, we have the resiliency mandate and some money there. I don't know. That would be good to get that info together here.
Yeah, I know that over the last 10 years, and actually prior to that, they were working diligently in the stormwater system to track down and seal up leaks in the stormwater system. So the marshy area off of New Haven Avenue as a Calf Pen Meadow. Is that? I'm trying to remember the name. You know, there were manhole covers on the lines that go through the meadow that had been removed by duck hunters. So, you know, they use it as a hunting structure to sit in there if it's not raining and pop up to go after ducks, and then leave and not seal them. And every time it rained and every time you had a high tide, the water was going right into the stormwater system. So I think they since rectified that, but I know the city was working diligently on that at one point. Telecommunication towers. So we can go to the Connecticut Siting Council and see you know, what updates they have to these locations. And of course, the technology is changing. So you're in some instances going from you know, the big towers to the smaller high frequency things that they put on the telephone poles now for 5G. So I don't know. I know we know you know, the city is going to be getting probably a new tower at the intersection of Route 1 and what's the street behind the Firestone across from the
Dave, what's the source that you would go to for this information? Is there some particular person at the siting council that would be able to provide you with that?
No, I just have to contact the siting council and see who will give me.
Okay, because I guess to your point, you were saying that, you know, the technology has changed, and so how granular do we need to track and, you know, these towers and you know, I don't know, is it even relevant?
That's a good point. I mean, I think it's there for information. I mean, it's again, this is one of those things where, you know, it's nice to know the information, but we don't really have an influence on the information. I mean, if the siting council wants to approve a tower somewhere, you know, they're going to approve the tower. But it's interesting information.
I guess the point being, though, is like we were saying, is okay, the sewer system has a breaking point as Milford keeps developing. At some point, you're going to overload the sewer, whatever else. This infrastructure here seems completely independent of Milford's development, right?
Yeah.
It's just going to happen.
Yeah.
Based on the states or whatever the needs.
The needs of the phone companies who are providing the service.
That's not state infrastructure.
Yeah,
That's,
I mean,
that's all private, correct?
It's all private, yeah. Yeah.
But
I see
the
your
reason
point.
they're
It really
building
doesn't have an effect on anything else besides just the ability to have a phone call or access to internet, which is pretty consistent, irrespective of location or technology. I don't think it impacts our day to day.
Right.
Yeah, I think to your point, Dave, it's good information to have. I think we should have the data available, but maybe at some point it drops off as a topic in the POCD. I don't know.
Sure.
But.
Yeah. And I kind of look at these graphics and I kind of think these look like oil wells instead of cell towers, but that's just me.
It looks like clutch cargo technology too.
With his pal Spinner and Platypus.
Paddlefoot.
Oh, we are old.
Paddlefoot. And the mammoth car. Okay, well that kind of wraps up the infrastructure and utilities section. The next section would be transportation.
Well, I think that, you know, I think if we just go back and then just jump up to 30,000 feet at a higher level, what do we want to say about infrastructure and utilities? Where would we like to put the target so that future people could aim their arrows at it? I would say that we I know that we were as looking at a microgrid in downtown that the Green Bank was working with the city on. I don't know if it came to fruition, but it could be that we look at the concept of microgrid and even developments, right? So if you have a development that somebody wants and we could now incentivize more density with
More sustainable, yeah.
more sustainable or even a micro grid, so they could bring in fuel cell technology and become off the grid, or mostly off the grid. But that would pretty much be related to electricity. But I think that stormwater collection and reuse could be valued and incentivized. Obviously, cost avoidance and use avoidance in terms of just good design work, and whether it's wind isn't that much of a factor in Connecticut. Doesn't blow that consistently to make it current technology valuable, but we have decent sun, and there is potential for geothermal, and there is potential for river stuff, so there could be something that we do in this infrastructure that underpins some sustainability. So if we do it in various sections, like we start talking about transportation, we could talk about incentivizing. And I think that's all we have is
Right.
either a carrot or a stick.
Right.
We can't really direct a whole lot, but so as we update this, let's maybe think about some language that continually points us in that direction. I know we're going to talk about sustainability as part of this, but if it's underpinned in each section, I think it gives it a little bit more focus and power.
Yeah, and I mean, the key words that we should be, adding into the different sections is like you said, incentivizing. And then getting into the weeds of that wouldn't be in the report. Getting into the weeds of that would be the regulation subcommittee saying, okay, we want to encourage, solar power, or doing something with the runoff in some different manner, and having a regulation that says, hey, if you're developing or doing this activity, which the board would have to define. If you do these things, whatever they are that the board would need to define, you as the developer can get, like you said, a higher density of development. Maybe
or go taller or whatever.
go taller, or go, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I mean, you can
And I
come
think
up with
that I've only seen it a couple times, but I have seen applicants and their attorneys come up with the argument that this is consistent with your POCD. And so if we leave it open door here and there, then somebody can come in and it won't even be directed towards a regulation that we thought up. It could be out of the box. They come to us
Sure.
and say, and by the way, here, and here, you leave an open door to developers to come up with their own cooler ideas than we know about that even exist today, maybe, and say that in light of section XYZ, we're asking for this, and we're willing to give these things that are achieving the goals you set out in POCD. So
Yep.
just
So-
some open doors might even get stuff done without going to regulation subcommittee, because there could be technology or circumstances that
But
we
you
can't
still-
see.
So the mechanism, though, if you want to see a particular kind of change or a particular kind of use to be promoted, you really have to have something in the regulation to the best of our ability to come up with something. So, if someone comes in today and says, well, I'd like to, do the best thing you've ever heard of, Jim, whatever that is, we're going to make this a totally self-sustaining building for electricity and gas and and runoff, everything, and and you ran away. And
No, no,
and then
I'm just pouring
and
more water in my cup.
then you go, wow, this is the best thing since sliced bread. Oh, but by the way, we need to go up 2 more stories and we need 30% more density. Well, there's no mechanism other than them to, you can't even ask for a special exception. I mean, it's because the use.
Yeah. No, I get it.
So
I get
we
it.
just
We have
need-
to, we have to leave an open door more
Right.
than just in POCD. We gotta
Right.
leave an open door in the regs as well. I get it.
But
Right.
Dave, I guess what I'm looking, again, getting back to the data that needs to be collected. I mean, for instance, solar energy, I'm thinking, you know, I don't really think it's really taking a major portion of this POCD right now. But for instance, I mean, we have the data, we can be looking at the rate at which single family dwellings are getting solar collectors put onto them. I mean, I know we're issuing permits, you know,
Sure.
5, 10 a week or whatever else.
Sure.
The curve is steepening, right? It's
Sure.
they're going faster and faster. So the
Sure.
point being is maybe you don't need to incentivize solar on residential. But as you know, when we had the discussion with the Genesis people over there at the Howard Johnsons, and we talked about solar, they
Right.
just kind of gave us a blank stare. So I would think that, you know, yeah, as we get
But-
into these
But
large
at
scale
Kmart- but at
buildings.
Kmart, they bought into it.
Right.
I think more and more
With
people
a
are
little arm
accepting
twisting.
of the solar.
That's okay.
And when I think about it, incentives, Joe, I'm not necessarily thinking of the single family homes.
Right.
Because, yeah, I'm thinking of all the commercial things that would come to the board. Because, you know, single family homes, we're gonna, you know, we don't have a lot to say unless there's something special going on with them. But the board has a lot to say with, you know, the big commercial developments, which could make the impact. A impact.
Also municipal buildings, I think if we put solar on top of, you know, everything, you know, we could change the, you know, the ratio of what we use.
Yeah, maybe we don't approve anything that the mayor wants unless he gives us solar.
I
Well,
like that.
we have a microgrid, don't we, Joe? Didn't?
Yes.
Yeah, the city hall now.
Right
and
here,
Parsons-
yeah.
And the Parsons building are on a microgrid. And there's a.
Did the
I think there's a-
microgrid get commissioned? No.
I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
this
it's,
is-
yeah, but it's emergency use only. It's not consistent power.
that I don't know.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
It's
That's like the whole mistake. You spend $20 million on 4 days. Spend 20 million on kilowatt hours every day that still runs in the, anyway.
that's a
Forget
good
it.
point.
Okay, let's scroll. Let's move on.
Okay, so
Hey, how long are we going to? Are we staying still 7:30? Are we staying later or what was the deal here?
Yeah, I mean, it was planned for 7:30, so if people have to jump, we'll jump. If anybody wants to stay another half hour, we can, or 15 minutes. You guys decide. I'm fine either way.
I do actually have a commitment, so you guys keep going on without me, and but I do have to be someplace.
You
Half an
gotta
hour.
play, you gotta play your guitar, I know.
Yeah, I actually supposed to be there half an hour ago, but
I'm jealous. I wish I had somebody to play with.
David to bring his bass and you bring your guitar. And John plays guitar. Joe, you must be able to do something.
Yeah, I'm in Boston though.
Oh, okay.
okay.
Always cowbell, so there you go.
Yeah.
Or cowbell.
Joe, what do you think?
Cowbell.
Mr. Mr. Casagnoli?
Either way, I mean, I could jump right now. I have stuff to do, but you know, I can stay too.
John, what's your gut?
Yeah, I'm good for, you know, another 15 minutes at least. So.
Okay.
Are you
All
okay
right,
if I?
so we'll keep you up to speed.
All right, thanks, guys, and sorry about that. And
No problem. Thanks for coming on.
make the city better. Catch you guys later.
Okay, Jim.
Take care.
Take care.
So transportation
All
and
right,
circulation.
you know what, if Joe or John, if you just have thoughts you want to share, we don't need to go too far down the road without Jim, but if we want to just kind of blue sky stuff or just think about
Yeah,
where
well-
we want the committee to go, we could do that right now.
Well, my thoughts, as I was going over the material, I was thinking, as we replace city vehicles, we go towards electric vehicles. Um, Obviously, as I already said, more solar for the municipal buildings. And if we get more, it mentions in the sustainability section, dates where we want to be less dependent on natural resources, on gas and
Fossil.
oil. Maybe if we move those target dates up, I think that would be a good idea to kind of accelerate the process, because obviously things are getting more serious by the day.
Are you talking about the energy plan that?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, want me to pull that up? Okay, let me go find it here. Hold on.
Anything we can do to move the ball forward is
Dave, it was the tab over to the left-hand side there.
Oh, sure it was. Oh, look at that. I even pulled it up. It was
You had it
ready to
right there.
go. See, I'm more efficient than I ever could hope to be, as far as I know. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Thanks, Joe. It's been a long day.
No problem, Dave.
Okay, so there's that. So did everyone have a chance to look at this?
I did.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, so Joe, when you have a chance, there's a committee that was appointed by the mayor a while back, that's called the Milford Energy Advisory Board. And then they, I guess during last year, I guess they worked on this plan. And it's making recommendations. It's making, recommendations on looking forward to, what should we be doing in the future? Obviously, looking at solar, but it's got some interesting things in here. Once you get past this stuff, reduce all net carbon emissions in Milford by 2050. So
Yeah, I agree with you, John. I think we can, it's really not much we can do, except we could set our own goals. And if I were to set goals, I would set much more aggressive goals than they came up with here. I think that was my
Right.
first takeaway, having read this, was like, why not just quit now?
Well-
Why not just give up?
Yeah, the hell with it,
The
right?
best you can do.
2050.
I don't mean to be disparaging of anybody that worked on it, but
Well,
holy mackerel.
These guys are talking about general concepts, which I think, a lot of them are talking about things that are building code related, and they even say that, let's go change the building codes. Well, go ahead, but that's not the purview here. You
Yeah,
can't bring
yeah.
that
And-
into the
and again,
POCD.
So,
But Other aspects, I think you can bring concepts into your POCD.
Right.
yeah,
Well, this whole
exactly.
document is aspirational, right? It's like what we're
Right.
trying to do.
Mhm.
And they either do it or they don't, but I
right,
think
and you can take as much of this or as little of this as you want. You can just reference this, and you can, if you think that everything in here is great, or whatever you think is great and not so great, you could say, gee, wouldn't it be nice if those goals could be met even earlier than what they
Yeah,
predict.
But as you get into, without getting into regulation subcommittees or anything like that, but as you get into looking at the concepts, for instance, the whole idea of composting and having some sort of citywide composting network, but then as we start issuing zoning permits for restaurants, obviously you're looking to see that they have some capacity and ability to compost and work it into the city system. And I think there's any number of these aspects that could be looked at and become part of your zoning, plan of conservation and development, and then ultimately part of your zoning regulations.
okay. I think that's a good, that's a good
Get to the-
positive forward movement in,
Not as negative as you guys.
yeah, I know. I was just looking at, maybe you could save a kilowatt hour in the next century. I mean, I was just kind of felt like it was lame. Now the concepts aren't lame. but they weren't also visionary in a sense. They were just old school, and I think not
Well,
aggressive
Jim,
enough.
Jim,
But I think composting, again, that's a much more fruitful look is to where can we incorporate whether they're concepts or goals.
Yeah.
Into our document and into eventually into the regulations. Now, could it be the case that we have a zoning regulation or a building regulation that says if you have a restaurant, you have to have a capacity to compost? I mean, is
No,
that zoning?
You can't do that. You can't do that because you are not authorized by statute and under your planning and zoning regulations to tell anybody what to do with their garbage.
Well, we
In terms
do.
of
We tell them,
process.
we tell them to put it into an enclosure. So we make sure that their
We
site
make sure-
plan
make sure
has
they
the
have a
ability
place
to.
to put it,
Correct.
yes, but we don't tell them once it's in the enclosure where it goes, how it gets handled. We know that they're doing something, that they're generating something that has to go somewhere. But we don't have the ability to say, oh, by the way, if you want to be a restaurant in Milford, you need to compost your waste stream. That
would have to be the alderman.
Yeah,
or the health
that's
department.
an ordinance or something. Yeah,
Well,
that's
obviously, our public works would have to have the ability to take in the composting, which that's again one of the concepts that they throw out here. So no, it's not just solely through
right.
through zoning that you're doing it. It's working as a whole throughout the city as
Right,
part
yeah,
of the
you have to
plan of
have-
conservation and
Exactly.
development. So I mean that's where the concept goes into the plan of conservation and development. The implementation goes through zoning
And
along with other aspects.
And that's where the infrastructure part comes in, because this, the
Got it.
composting part would be part of the infrastructure. Gee, wouldn't it be great if in Milford we had, we were self-sufficient in terms of being able to compost, not just restaurants, but, places around the world, Switzerland, for instance, putrescibles from your household, and you have a separate bin that goes out and the city comes by and takes it. And
Yeah, I mean, I just got back from California. They have the green waste right alongside recycling and garbage. We could certainly do that.
So similarly, this Milford Energy Plan talks about the electric vehicles, and they're doing it anyway, right? We have private parking facilities that are putting in electric charging stations anyway.
right.
Incorporate that into the regulations.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yes.
And I don't know,
Yes, I agree.
police vehicles, school buses. I mean, all these things could be electric.
Yeah, and renewable energy, charging them up.
Right?
Yeah. So I think the point being is that you've obviously got this as something to they're saying the same thing that your POCD is ultimately presumably going to say regarding these topics. It's just that this is just giving you that much more backup or credibility.
Right.
So logistically, Joe, would you just want to just reference this and say to incorporate this in our vision for the future, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've been talking about the same things as this is saying. It's just now we can reference it also as being the POCD is consistent with the Milford Energy Plan.
And more aggressively.
Hopefully, yeah.
Okay, let's keep scrolling to see what we got.
So I'm amazed no one has jumped on the reduce the fossil fuels by 50% in your heating, your cooling, and your cooking. So I'm just wondering what do you replace your cooking with?
I think
Electric.
Yeah,
coal stove,
aren't you burning
coal-fired stove.
Yeah, coal
But
fire
you got to
stove.
produce the electricity.
Exactly.
That's true.
That's the thing that jumped out at me when I read this. It's like, okay, what can I cook with if I'm not using gas or electricity?
A wood fire.
But
Well-
Dave, I think that's what I'm saying is ultimately, if Milford wants to become carbon neutral or whatever else, as you are, changing to electric cooking, you know,
Yeah.
primarily. You're obviously offsetting that with all the photovoltaic collectors that we're putting up on roofs. And so again, that would be the data that we'd want to have access to.
Okay. So yeah, this is just their, you know, I think this is 13 pages. So this has all the, you know, the goals and aspirations of the committee, and you know, again, it's worth a look at, and you know, we could figure out different ways of referencing it as you know, the POCD supports the
Yeah, and I think these numbers are changed because, as we've all heard and seen, that electric rates in Connecticut have gone up quite drastically in the last year.
Yeah.
So the cost avoidance is a lot when you compare the solar to the current rates.
yeah. So like school buses, you know, the school system, you know, hires a bus company to provide the buses, so that, you know, the Board of Education would have to, you know, demand of their
Well, I think,
bus
you know, I think
suppliers.
we have an opportunity in front of us.
Yeah, I
not
wasn't going to
next
bring that
meeting,
up.
But the meeting after that, with regard to, they want to have a fueling station, say, sure, just no gas.
Don't
Use
think
all
we can
electric.
talk about this.
Yeah,
Or, you know, biofuels. I think for $1,500, you can take a diesel motor and change it so that it uses biofuel instead of diesel.
Wow.
I think it's like really cheap. I don't know where the good supply, consistent supply of biofuel is, but
doesn't that come from the restaurants? And
Restaurant, yeah.
you end up
restaurant
following all of
cooking
these
oil.
vehicles, and it smells like French fries.
Yeah, there you go.
I like the smell of French fries.
Yeah.
So, you know, again, their goals, the interim goals.
Yeah,
But Dave, I noticed they were talking about the city's policy for electric vehicles, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the city has a policy, right?
Yeah, they're slowly converting. They're slowly.
Well, I mean,
converting.
I guess I'm assuming that you've got the resource. You
the
can go to
city's
somebody.
policy is continue to use old vehicles and burn gas.
Well, that's not true. I mean, I know that we are getting
Come
hybrid
on.
vehicles.
Do we have any at this point?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, some of the sedan part of the fleet and some of the SUVs that the city has, other hybrids, they have one or two fully electric cars. Funny story, I think the first one they got, the mayor.
Let's find out the policy for that. I
Okay,
mean, there's just,
it'll be from Public Works. They'll tell us the policy. That's, yeah.
And we could put the cops in Teslas. I think they would enjoy that. And, you know, it's just
Well,
another way to.
As long as it's the Tesla Plaid, you know, the one that goes 0 to
That's right,
60 in
yeah.
2 seconds.
I'll tell you what, they are fast.
Yeah. So,
Joe Castagnoli, you should have a Tesla.
Yeah, I know that. I spend a lot on gas.
You should put it in your next application for your review. I want a new car. I want it to be a Tesla.
Tesla, yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah, you'd look good in a Tesla.
I don't know. I don't look bad in an Audi.
the Audi e-tron is really good looking. When
They're
that
all
comes
going
out.
electric, so.
Yeah, I know. No, my son, his engine went on his Honda, and he just ordered a new Hyundai, which is all electric, and it's gotten great reviews, and the battery has a 10-year warranty. So
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll be watching him, and if it goes okay, that's what I'm going to get.
What's the range?
Uh,
Did he tell you? Like 200
no.
miles or more, or what?
I think it's more. You know, obviously he gets a tax rebate because he's installing a charger in his garage, and he also gets a tax benefit from buying the vehicle.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I'm looking at. I'll be interested to find out if he likes the car.
I am too. I will be interested too, to see if he likes it and if it works pretty good, and he can, find plenty of charging stations and how much it gets to a full charge.
And are we gonna see the charging stations at Stop and Shop?
Yeah, they were given the go ahead. They can come in and get the permits.
So they're gonna put in how many stations?
I think it was just 2.
So that's the Stop and Shop on the Post Road, right?
Yeah, that's the one in
Bridgeport Avenue.
Bridgeport Avenue.
Bridgeport Ave at the fork there, Bridgeport Ave, and
Mhm.
so they're putting in a couple there, so that's good.
Yeah, they look like the ones that are at the mall that aren't the Tesla ones. So there's some at the mall that are in front of Target. They're going to look pretty much just like that.
Cool.
More the merrier.
Well, listen, thanks, guys. If we'll look for a recap, David, and then or like minutes, and then
Okay.
for the next meeting, let's see if we can in the minutes, could you list the deliverables for the next meeting, which would be drafts of the upgrades that you assemble from various entities, whether it's, whatever, we talked about them. So you'll be getting updates from the various entities to include in our drafts that we will see. We'll go forward next meeting, and we will also do a look back on what we have for drafts. And what I'm hoping for, John and Joseph, is to do, we have first and third Tuesdays for our regular meetings. So the Wednesday following, not the immediate Wednesday, but a week Wednesday would be our standard 2 meetings a month for POCD. Is that okay with you guys?
So second and fourth, basically, Wednesday?
Yeah, unless the Wednesday is the first Wednesday is, the second Wednesday is the first Wednesday of the month. You know what I mean? So because sometimes
for
the month
April,
starts on a Wednesday. So
Well,
it'll
for
just be
April-
always the week after our first and third Tuesday on a Wednesday.
Well, Jim,
Yeah.
April 13th
Jim,
and April 27th.
I think we doubled up on the meetings to get caught up. Are we close to getting caught up, or?
I
we still-
think we probably need like at least a month or 2 of this, and then
Okay,
reevaluate.
okay,
And at that point, we will have had a little bit more input from the consultant, and we'll sort of collectively gauge how much we really think we can just sort of have them do, and come back to us. So if we feel
Okay.
like we have budget and we can give them some stuff to come back to us without a whole ton of our upfront thought, then that's what we'll do. But I'd say if we could do 2 months of this, I think we'll be in good shape, at least a reeval.
okay. That's
Thank you,
okay.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right, I thank everybody for their time. and
Jim,
efforts.
Jim,
Yeah.
do we still have some minutes to approve?
Oh, you know what? You're exactly right. You're exactly right. We have two meetings. One was truncated because of my internet. But so, do we have a motion to approve?
So
I
moved,
move
Mr.
to
Chairman. Go ahead.
Okay, without
I'll
objection,
second then.
minutes are approved. Okay, no objection. Okay. Everybody, Sue, Joe, John, David, Jim, Joe, thank you all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh,
See you
Jim,
now,
there was,
Everyone,
See you on
There-
Tuesday in person.
in person.
okay, okay. Hey,
Holy
Jim,
mackerel.
Jim,
Yeah,
Jim. Would it be possible to invite the city attorney to just brief us on legal matters in executive session? Just to see what's going on?
that they generally don't do that because we have to, unless we're in court with something and they.
what, for which issue, Joe?
The mall.
I'll ask the city attorney if there's anything. I don't think that case moved forward. I think they withdrew it. They said they were gonna withdraw it.
Well, yeah, that's what I'd like to know, if there's been anything happening on it. I don't want to say too much here, and that's the problem, okay?
Right, so
That I would talk more freely in open session, in executive session, okay?
I will inquire of the city attorney if there's anything for him to report. And if there is, I think we would still have time to add it to the agenda because we would have.
Okay,
to-
okay,
The agenda has to be specific as to why the board is meeting. And again, typically, why the board is meeting for something in executive session. So.
okay, I understand that,
Yeah,
okay?
So let me find out. Let me find out. If
Okay.
there's something to report, obviously.
good
we'll-
thought.
Okay, it just seemed odd to me that when this first came to us, I didn't really know what Attorney Nuff was even talking about when he started his spiel, okay? And that's why I'd like to, stay ahead of it.
Okay, so yeah, so you don't want to really say anything more.
Right, right.
Yeah.
No
so,
more surprises.
Right, so if there's anything to report, we'll set up an executive session. If
Okay.
if there's nothing to report, then we won't.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, very good.
Okay. Okay, motion to adjourn.
You got
So
it.
moved.
Okay, thanks, everybody.
Thank
Have a good
you.
night,
All
everyone.
Wednesday.
Good night.
Take care.
right.